Nasri looks for Xavi!
Gabriel Martinelli jusqu'au bout. Oh, il a fait l'exploit de Gabriel Martinelli. Le coast to coast façon NBA pour relancer les Gunners.
Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the Kenyan Gunners podcast with me, Omar Bashir, and Ahmed Banafa Ahmed. Good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, Omar. Thank you for having me once again.
Yeah, sure. It's our show. It's not my show. Before we get into anything,
Yes.
I would just like to first say something.
Yeah. What a wonderful sound that is to hear.
It is the after party here. I mean, we're both up all night waiting for the news to be confirmed.
Mhm.
It's sort of surreal. It's sort of like it sort of has the Mesut Ozil vibes. Not as big as
Yes.
that was, but it certainly sort of feels that way.
That's exactly how it feels. And I've been singing that same song in my head the whole morning. It feels really, really good to have this like in the bag, you know.
Mm-hmm.
We have him finally after what was this was one of the longest transfer sagas since, was it June? But it's actually been going on for a couple of years now. So
Yeah.
it feels just amazing to have Thomas Partey, number 18, with us at the Arsenal family.
Shout out to AFC Bell, of course, the master guru on this issue.
Sheikh Bell.
It was incredible. It was incredible.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
I'm sure we get into that. We just want to talk about the game first. People seem to have forgotten that
yeah.
we did play a game. We did win 2-1 against Sheffield United. It's 9 out of 12 now. I think we're in the top 4, but it's too early to look at the table. But a good start from Arsenal this season.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it was a good win in the end, 2-1 against Sheffield United opponents who we only took 1 point off of last season, if you can imagine that. This same fixture last season was a draw, actually.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember that. Yeah, so this was good. It was a good improvement on the team. I mean, on the results. And as you said, 9 out of 12. That's something really impressive considering we've already played Liverpool. And if you look at the context of the Carabao Cup as well, we've actually played 6 games and only lost one, won the rest. So that's actually really good.
Yeah. I think the Leicester win when we won the Carabao Cup, I think, has not really been praised enough, in my opinion. I think we controlled the game. I think our record there is actually quite dismal. We've only won 1 game. I think it was the 5-2 a couple of seasons back. So I think it's a good start in terms of results. Yes, I think performance has been
It's still to get
indifferent.
there. Still to get there.
Yeah, but what I like about it is that despite our indifferent performances and whatever issues that we may have in terms of creativity, we are getting the points. We are, winning games, and that's what's important at this point in time. When you're not playing so well, you can be able to get the points.
Yes, exactly. And it's not just that we are not playing well. I think we are playing how the team is set up. Sure, it can get a bit drab at some points, but there's a system in place, and we can see that. We can see what the team is trying to do, and I think that's most important of all. I think as people are starting to notice right now that we're getting harder and harder to beat, and I think that's very important to look at as well. It's not just results for the sake of results. We actually have a system in place as opposed to last season and the season before.
Yeah. I think defensively we have improved.
Mm.
We are more resolute in terms of our
Mm.
defending. We do offer a lot of chances to the opposition, but not clear chances. So I think that's something to highlight, of course. I'd just like to go back to the lineups. Um, Surprises for you in the lineup?
Yeah, actually, just the one, I think I could say, or two maybe, with El Neni coming on for Granit Xhaka,
Mm,
which I thought was a surprise, and Nketiah for Lacazette. Maybe we expected Lacazette to start that game, but
yeah.
having been rested in the midweek game,
Hmm.
yeah, I think just those two surprises. Uh, Gabriel Magalhaes obviously came back into it, and the rest was as we expected.
Yeah, I think we also started with a back four as well. I think four
Mm.
defenders at the very least were in the team. So I also felt that was interesting. And as we played the game, I think El Neni was playing as some sort of hybrid right center back when we had position, sort of the same way
Shaka used to
Chaka
play.
used to do it on the left hand side. So it was very interesting
Mm.
whether I don't think El Neni will start for us a lot of games, but I think he's useful to have when we're playing maybe particular type of opposition who need that sort of right hand side bias. I
Mm.
think it would be important. I think it's nice to have that option that we can play El Neni on this side and then Shaka on the other side. So it was interesting to see that in terms of the game. First half was Ghana blog was describing it as very structured game. I felt it was very boring. What were your thoughts on the first half?
Um, well, we know that Sheffield is a hard team to get through. I mean, they're one of the more resolute sides that any team usually comes up against. We know that they're very well drilled in their defensive shape, in their formation. They clearly have well-defined roles, the players. So I felt like it was expected that Sheffield would try and maybe sit deep and try to block out our passing channels, and they did that actually very well. We couldn't get going despite having the majority of possession. I believe at some point we had up to 80% possession.
Mm.
Yeah, but the thing is there was no penetration. So that's also credit to Sheffield as well for executing their game plan that well. But yeah, against teams like this, you expect the boring. I mean, you expect the boring side to come out. You can't go gung ho all the time when the team is just
Yeah.
sitting executing a deep block and you can't get through them. It took some patience from us, and I think the second half showed.
Yeah, I think as well, first half indicated in terms of the lack of creativity, which has been a major talking point this season, and even last season as well. That we struggle to create chances. I think this season only West Brom have created less chances than Arsenal, and last
Mm.
season we were 16th in terms of chance created in the league. So it's clearly not good
Wow.
enough for a team like Arsenal. Clearly not good enough to get into the top four. So creativity is a big issue, and I like what we did in the second half when we made the Pepe go when we made the Pepe substitution. He came in on the right, Willian on the left, and then I think the Willian was sort of playing
And
like a
Aubameyang up top.
Aubameyang up top. Willian, I like the positioning of Willian. He came in, sort of played like as a number 10. He drifted in, and Saka went on the outside. Or they switched. Willian would go the outside and Saka would drift in. So it was sort of like having that creative presence in the hole, as they say, and I felt that told in our two goals.
Yeah, exactly that. When Pepe came on, he brought in also an injection of pace that we sorely needed in that game. The play immediately became faster with Willian coming in now in hybrid number 10, I would say number 8 role on the left. The play just immediately became sharper, and we scored, I think, two really beautiful goals. The way the team executed the passing sequences, the goals themselves, they were a joy to watch. I think that's what we need to see more of coming down the line.
Mm-hmm. I think also what was interesting, the Hector Bellerin influence on the game was superb. I think he was again superb as he has been throughout the season, and a lot of people have been taking notice of his performance after this game. But I felt that, I think after the Community Shield and the Fulham game, I felt that Hector Bellerin was back to his best, and he showed it again with, I think he had 2 assists in the game. Yeah, 2 assists.
Yeah, he did. The first one was a cross to Saka, and uh, the second one I give all credit to Pepe, to be honest. When Pepe forced that pass inside to Bellerin, I think before we would see maybe Willian would take the ball back to Luis. I think Pepe actually forced that play. He played it inside to Bellerin, which opened up space for him to run into, and Bellerin played a really nice ball through to him, and the goal came from that. But yeah, Bellerin 2 assists, and he has been performing very, very well. I think he's been one of our better players in the recent games, and he's really showing what he can do right now, and I'm glad people are finally starting to take notice.
Yeah, I think he got a lot of slack unfairly after coming back from injury. And Arteta spoke about it as well, that he felt that he needed to challenge himself. They had a discussion with him towards the end of last season, and they discussed his positioning, how he wanted to develop. And I think he's been working, on his offensive and defensive. How can I say this? Yeah, it's his game basically, and we can see it is paying off. And now starting to show on the pitch. So I think that's fantastic for him, fantastic for Arsenal.
Yeah. The goal we conceded, do you have anything to say about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think Tierney does okay because he shows him onto his weaker foot. I think McGoldrick is right-footed, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah, he is.
He's right-footed. So I think Tierney does well, forces him to his left foot. So I think that's where you need El Neni to actually come and press him and take the ball off him. Luis, not so much. I think Luis is an obvious magnet that people would like to blame him, but I think I'd put the blame more on El Neni, that he didn't realize he wasn't on the same wavelength as Tierney in terms of when he pushed him into his weaker foot, he should have come and pressed him, and whatever space that he would have vacated, Luis would have covered that, of course. So. But it was a good finish. It was a good goal. Nothing that Leno could have done. But I think El Neni should have been able to do that. It's a split-second decision. If he does that, he probably gets a block in. So yeah, I think that's my take on that.
Yeah, but as well, credit to McGoldrick, as you said, it was his weaker foot, and the ball curled beautifully well. I mean, you don't really see many of those, so it could be forgiven, but it did end up causing a bit of chaos towards the end, as usual with Arsenal. You can't what's the word? Really rely on them to give you a good closing out of a game. They have to have some drama.
I felt we were comfortable in the game. I think the goal sort of took us off a little bit. I felt before the goal, like for the 10 minutes before the goal, I don't think Sheffield offered anything in terms of threat. I think Arsenal were comfortable enough. They sort of wanted to see out the game, which, it's not so bad. But I think something that I would like certainly is that once we get, and I think Arteta also pointed out, once we get the second, we should push for the third and the fourth and the fifth.
Yeah.
So to close out the game, one, to close out the game completely, and two, to provide entertainment to the fans as well, for the players as well to enjoy themselves on the pitch. That's basically what you want. That's why we watch football, for enjoyment. So I think maybe that will come on with time once players are comfortable with their roles. But I felt that overall, I think we were comfortable, barring a few, iffy moments towards the end of the game.
Yeah, I agree with you. We were actually very comfortable, and we kept Sheffield at bay. They only had 2 shots on target, and one was obviously the McGoldrick shot. I can't even remember the second one. Possession as well, we had the majority of it throughout the game. I think we edged over 65% possession. So that's really good to see. And as you said, the entertainment value. Once we scored the second goal, I think we were really relaxed. You could see the gameplay just improved. It just went up a notch, and we were fizzing the ball around much quicker. And that was the kind of game I think that we should be expecting more of from Arsenal, as you said, once players start settling in and with the new additions as well.
Yeah, I think overall, I think it was an okay game against a very difficult opponent, as you say. When you take that into perspective, I think it's a good win. Of course, Sheffield has lost all their games, so I think it would have been important to win the game. So we go into the international break off the back of a win, off the back of a nice victory at Anfield on the Carabao Cup in midweek last Thursday, I think it was.
Yes.
So I think there's a good vibe about where we are at the moment, especially with other rival teams stumbling, as it would seem.
What a day that was, wasn't it? Sunday. Leicester lost 3-0 at home to West Ham.
Yeah, who we beat.
Who we beat, by the way.
So the results actually looks much, much better now.
Yes. Well, the neighbors down the road also beat Manchester United.
Yeah,
and that was a difficult one for me because I actually beat both of them, and well, I enjoy living off the misery of either one of them, but I don't know how to describe that one.
Yeah, I didn't enjoy it as much as you'd think I would. I mean, Manchester United lost, of course. There's always a celebration when that happens, but I felt it because it was Spurs. When
Exactly.
I was going into the game, if I wanted a team to lose 6-1, it's certainly not Manchester United. I wanted Spurs to lose 6-1. I would have enjoyed that much more, for sure. But I think whatever problems that I had, I think Aston Villa saved me, and I just had a fantastic evening after that.
And another game that really took everyone by surprise. I mean, nobody could have seen that coming.
I was watching the goals. I didn't watch the game. I was having.
You really missed out.
I was having a meeting during that time, so I was watching the extended highlights yesterday, and it was just so funny how the goals are going in. I just couldn't believe.
It's not just the goals. I mean, you should have seen the way Jack Grealish really ran the place. I think there's a highlight that's been going around of Jack Grealish really doing one over Virgil van Dijk.
Yeah, the false 5.
Is it what exactly do you mean?
He said there was a joke going around on Twitter that he's playing a false 5 position. The false 9. So he was playing a false five.
Oh. No, that's not what I meant.
Anyway,
There's a video.
yes, the video where he texts Maguire
He's,
for shopping.
yeah,
Yeah,
Van
yeah.
Dijk.
Yeah, sorry, Van Dijk. I personally, I'm not a big fan of Van Dijk. I think he, don't get me wrong, he's a fantastic defender. He's really good at what he does. Probably one of the best in the league. But there's just something about him, like it's so artificial. Like his how can I say this? His persona on the pitch doesn't feel like that's him. In terms of what he does, what he says, what he tells her. I think that's very artificial from him. I don't know.
There's something off about him. No,
Yeah,
I'm with you. I'm with you because
it's like I don't know. It's like he's trying to be somebody that he's not, in like, you know, the leader, the guy who's there for people. And he does that, but I think he does that. It's not authentic. And I'm not saying that you have to be. I mean, you don't have to, when you're defending, you don't have to be that guy who's there, you know, backing up your players and things like that. I mean, you can just be a good player, just play your game, and just, you know, be the quiet lad. There's no problem in that. So I find that a bit artificial. I don't like that. I don't know. Maybe it's just a thing with me. I'm just being too picky about it. But I those are my views on Van Dijk. So I like it when things like that happen to him.
So yeah, all in all, that was a fantastic Sunday with the results going all our way, I think, with the Leicester loss, Man U loss, Liverpool loss. That leaves us at fourth on the league table.
I just want to pull up the table.
Although it's still early days, and we still have low goal difference, but it's good. It's good enough.
Yeah, goal difference is not that bad. I think we're conceding far much less goals as well. I think we've conceded
okay. 5 goals.
5 goals.
So far. And 3 of them were against Liverpool.
So we can take that with a pinch of salt. So I think we're doing okay. We're doing well. Good for the upcoming games, I said, which were important. We discussed them, I think was in the last podcast. I think we have, I'm looking at the fixture list now.
Manchester City.
Then we have Manchester City on the Saturday, that is in a fortnight. Mm-hmm. And then we have a Europa League game against Rapid Vienna. Fantastic. And then we have Leicester at home. Then we have Dundalk away in the Europa League, and then we have Man United away. That's 2 away games. So that should be interesting. Oh, and then we have Molde at home in the Europa League, and then Aston Villa at home. That would be interesting. Anyways,
the Aston Villa game, maybe that's now a title decider.
Everton and Aston Villa for the title, by the way.
Yeah, as the 2 unbeaten teams.
Yeah,
as of right now.
It's great.
Yeah, so our fixture list looks really somewhat daunting in the Premier League. The next 3 games, especially. I'm just talking about the Premier League with Man City, Leicester, and Manchester United coming up. 3 games in a row. 2 of them away to the Manchester City clubs.
Yeah, yeah. How would you? Okay, we have Leicester, Man United, and City. Out of 9, how many points would deduce a good return from those games? City is away. Return. City is away. Leicester is home, and United is away.
Well, in the context of things as of right now, I think Manchester United away should not be that big a deal, although we do know that they do tend to be really hyped up for matches against us. I think we might end up getting a result. Maybe I'm seeing us getting a result at Old Trafford. that's just me. Maybe this will be our first win maybe in how many years? 5 years against a top 6 team. Yeah. Leicester home, I expect that to be a win as well.
Yeah.
And Manchester City, I honestly don't know what kind of team they'll put out. I think they've been very erratic.
I think they'll
but
put all the shiny toys that they've bought.
but I don't know. This is just me being very optimistic because right now we know they are not maybe very stable, although we know that they have the quality players to get a win against us, as they have done on multiple occasions. But the way that they are right now with their instability, we might scrape by. But this is just me being like really, really optimistic.
Yeah. I'm looking at it,
Yeah.
I'm thinking if we get 5 points out of this game, I'm thinking a Leicester City win at home and draws away at Manchester. I think it could be a good return. I would be happy with that. But then that's saying we could lose against Leicester, but then we win against City. So I think basically, I think 5 points would be good. I think, in my opinion.
Yeah. I think that's the least we should be aiming for if we want to do anything this season.
Yeah.
And it will definitely be an improvement over last season.
Absolutely. So we just have to see when international break. So that is absolutely fantastic. We're having a lot of fun during this period. Hopefully it will get over quick so that we can get back to watching Arsenal. I think we should end part 1 on that, unless you got something else to add on.
Not really, except that despite being one of the lowest clubs in terms of shots, I think we have one of the highest completed passes in the game. And at the same time, lowest number of tackles. Like we're 20th in terms of tackles attempted and succeeded, but in terms of passes, we are 3rd. And so it's an interesting dynamic, I think, one that we have to rectify. The number of shots as well, as you said, we're 16th.
Yeah.
That's just really, really low.
Yeah, but we have, I think, the second highest shot conversion. I think it's Leicester. Our shot conversion is fantastic. I think it's 25%. So that's not so bad.
And that's considering. Are you counting penalties in that percentage?
Have we had penalties?
Because we haven't, and Leicester have had. Is it 5? Leicester had 3 against Man City, and I think they had another 2.
They had 3 against Man City.
Yeah, that's how they scored their 5 goals. Jamie Vardy scored two penalties,
and then Tillemans. Yes, I completely forgot Tillemans.
Yeah. So even their win against Man City is kind of, you have to look at it in context, I think. Yeah. So they've had 5 penalties in total this season. So their shot conversion is if you're looking at penalties, I think ours stands to be higher because you have to eliminate penalties.
That's actually a good point. So I think it's sort of like the same story we've had with Arteta last season. I think we sort of wait to create sort of like the perfect opportunity to take a shot. People don't want to take speculative efforts, I think. So I think maybe that will come in time in terms of players comfortable in the position. If you can get more creative players on the pitch, I think that number would come up.
And before we move on, I wanted to ask you, we forgot to do this. Who was your man of the match against Sheffield?
Man of the match. Hector Bellerin. I liked everything that he did. I think he was defensively sound. I think going forward, he offered something. which is very. I mean, Hector Bellerin last year or so, we've not really seen much of him offensively.
Mm.
I think, and offensively, I don't mean about his pace. I think his technical ability on the ball is a really added bonus. And I think it's shown in this game. The weight of his pass, the runs that he made, defensively, interceptions, his positioning, it was brilliant. So I feel that I think Hector Bellerin had a very good game, and he would be my man of the match.
No, okay. For me, I'm torn between Ceballos and Gabriel
Mm,
because, well, Ceballos, we saw what he did. When with the addition of Pepe in the team, he really, I think, transformed the game, and he was pushing passes into the final third
yeah.
a lot. And I think without him, uh, and his ability to put those passes in where we need them, I think it's gonna cost us without Ceballos right now. I think he's a really, really important player for us.
Mm,
And with Gabriel, he was amazing. I think defensively and also offensively with the kind of passes he would play. I don't know if you saw or if you look at it comparatively with the defenders we've had maybe last season. I think playing those passes into the channels
mhm.
where Ceballos and El Neni usually are, or sometimes Saka, it's actually been very limited before Gabriel came in. He's been playing those passes, those difficult passes, straight down into the middle of the park
Yeah, yeah.
instead of going out wide most of the time, as we usually tend to do.
Mm,
Uh, Usually, you'd see people passing to the likes of Tierney or AMN who are on the touchline. I think him going in the middle speaks a lot about what he can do and what we are trying to do as Arsenal as well. I think he's going to be really, really instrumental.
yeah,
I
yeah,
think he's going to be
absolutely.
really instrumental.
Absolutely. I completely agree with you. I feel Gabriel has been a fantastic addition. He's slowly and quietly going about his job. I think he's doing the simple things well, and I think he also adds a technical dimension to our defense in terms of progression of the football. So I'm really pleased with him. Hopefully, he can be consistent enough over 10 months into Premier League season, and it will pay off for us.
Exactly.
Yeah, so I think we'll end part one there, and we'll be back with part two right after this. Welcome back to the second part of the Kenya Gunners podcast. Follow us on our various social media sites on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook at Kenya Gunners Pod. Right, Ahmed.
Yes. There's actually a question I wanted to ask you.
Mm,
We've been seeing these results against the so-called big teams having been really poor in the past, and also the results against the small teams. I think we're now starting to transform that. We've
mm,
seen against now the likes of Sheffield. Maybe last season we would have dropped points by drawing or losing this game. What do you think about this? Do you think we need to actually start winning more against big teams or the small teams? Do we want to be called flat track bullies against small teams?
Uh, it's sort of the relation to the question that we asked on Instagram by Nawaz Muhammad, sort of on the same vein. I think um, I feel we're more I'm actually more confident going into big games because I think we're more suited to the big games in terms of the way we have structured before. I don't know with the new signings how that will affect us in terms of our shape and where Arteta wants to take us. But I feel like in the big games we have more of a chance. I actually feel like it's in these small games that we have big issues because when they come with a low block and put five behind in the defense, I think it becomes much difficult because we can't really operate in those half spaces very well. So I think winning these small games is sort of more difficult for Arsenal than actually facing the big teams because the big teams will come at you. They will try and press you high so that you can play out of the press and then release Aubameyang, Willian, Lacazette, Pepe, whoever's playing in that front line. So I feel like we might have an improved performance in terms of the so-called big teams. I'll be interested to see if we can actually get a win away from home this year. I think there are a couple of teams who I feel we can go to their place and beat them. Maybe Chelsea, United at this moment in time. I'd really like to beat Spurs in their stadium. They beat us last season in a game which I just didn't like at all. But you know, so yeah, that's my take on that. What do you think?
I think the small winning against the small teams is just as important as winning against the big teams, and
Mm,
especially more so because there are only six in quotes top teams. Um, so and the small teams again in quotes because the Premier League is the Premier League and we can't really predict, but it's really tough. And so these small wins against, I mean, these wins against the so-called small teams are very important as well. So I think the more wins we get, the better, because these are the sort of games we lost points last season. Um, I, we had, I think, was it 13 draws in total last
I think
season?
14 it
So
was.
14, wow. So yeah, there you have it. So if we could turn some of these games into wins, I think we'd have a better chance at finishing where we want to finish by the end of this season. So it's not just about the big games. I feel if we can do what we know now that we can do, as we have seen under Arteta. Of course, he has beaten Man City once. He has beaten Liverpool three times already. Um, so the big teams, I think we will try and we will see results against them. It's these small teams that we need to get more results more often. And at the end of the season, I think these are the results that will count more.
Yeah, I agree. I think Wenger used to get into the top four by beating all these other teams, and then
Mm.
when one was against the top four, I think away from home, we just didn't really do well, but we lost the game. Maybe at home, we get a draw or a win, and we're in the top four. So I think getting to the top four, I think we need to do better against the so-called lesser sides. I think when we now start to compete for the title, I think these big games become more and more important. But we're not there yet. But it would be nice as well to win those big games
Mm.
on that. So I think we can move on to what we wanted to actually discuss in part two, which was the transfers. Um, the big one, of course, is Thomas Partey, signed for £45 million. We paid the release clause yesterday. One of our prime targets this year, alongside Hussam Awad. I think there was a belief that we couldn't sign him because of the difficulty of the deal, that we had to pay the contract in full, the release clause rather in full, the 45 million. Did it sort of surprise you that we were going for this move?
Um, well, for Thomas Partey, not really. I think Arteta has needed someone uh, in the mold of Partey and what he can do. Um, I think if you look at one of his quotes, let me see if I can find it. Just give me a second. Yeah, here it is. He is a dynamic midfielder with great energy. He brings a lot of experience from a top club that has competed at the highest level in La Liga and the Champions League for several years. We're very impressed with his attitude and his approach to the game. he's an intelligent footballer, and we're looking forward to him integrating into our system and contributing to the progress we're building at the moment at the club. So as you can see, I think also Edu said something along the lines of the kind of energy that Thomas Partey will bring. And it's easy to see how or why, if you looked at some of the highlight reels, if you're not an avid watcher of the La Liga like me, or from people who've actually been watching Atletico Madrid play with Thomas Partey, I think the kind of dynamism he brings, not just in one section of the game, which I believe most people have been thinking about, the kind of player he is as a holding midfielder. I don't think he is that. I think he's a very dynamic player who can do a lot with the ball. And I think it doesn't surprise me that we went for such a player because of the kind of game he will bring to the carpet.
Yeah, I think he's a very dynamic player. I think that's the best sort of adjective you can use to describe him, is dynamic. He's a very, very good passer. I think his passing is quite underrated. I think he's an excellent passer of the ball. He's got a great engine. He can dribble as well. He's a ball carrier. He can carry the ball 30, 40 yards. And, he wins the ball as well from deep. So I think it's a very good signing. It will enhance our quality in that area in terms of midfield. What I meant to ask you was the price. I don't doubt for 1 second that Mikel Arteta wanted Thomas Partey. I think the issue was that we don't have 45 million ready in the bank to actually pay the release clause, because that's how it goes in Spain. You don't actually deal with the club in terms of matter of release clauses, as we saw with Neymar a couple of years ago. You just go to the La Liga headquarters, you pay the release clause, and then you're allowed to talk to the player, and the club is just basically informed by La Liga that, hey, these guys have paid the release clause. So I felt that did that approach that we are going to pay the 45 million pounds after the whole season we're being told us not to have the funds, we have to generate money from player sales and so on and so forth, which I actually alluded to, I think, in a couple of episodes ago. I felt that we did have the money to do what we want. Did that in itself surprise you?
No, I don't think it really did. I think I think we did have the money, as we saw earlier in the season, or maybe towards the end of last season. I think there was a very short break, so I can't delineate the two. So sometime between the start of the season and the end of last season, we saw something about the Kroenke, the KSC industry, doing something with debt refinancing and allowing money to be easily accessible to be able to finance any deals in the future. And the KSC Holdings actually having done this refinancing and being in charge of the loan now will give us a lower interest rate and a whole lot of other things that came from that. I think we did have the money, and I think it was just a matter of how to spend it. And I think our main target, as we all know, was I think that was our priority number one, for obvious reasons, because he's a player, I think, that we needed more. I still stand by that. We actually needed him more, because he plays in those positions maybe that we had the biggest gap in terms of quality. But no, it doesn't surprise me that we went this route, having activated Thomas Partey's release clause and paying the money forthright, because we are, after all, a big club, and we do have the money. It's just a matter of spending it wisely, and I think in the end we did. I think Partey is still a world-class midfielder, and I believe he will show us that he is worth every penny. And so, no, my answer is it doesn't surprise me.
I think on that issue, I think we did have the money to buy one of them. I didn't think we had the money to buy both of them. I think Arteta wanted both of them this season.
Mm.
So we needed to generate from player sales. I think if we would have sold Kolasinac, if we would have sold Socrates, if we had sold Guendouzi, I think we would have gone for both of them. So I think we didn't sell any of those players. So I think it sort of affected what we could do in terms of the market. It sort of slows our progression a little bit. So I felt, plus Leon, I think people think it's around the same amount. I think Leon wanted much more than what the release clause for Partey was. I think they wanted 60 million euros, which translates to around 55 million pounds. That's 10 million pounds more than what we paid for Thomas Partey. So I felt that they felt, of course, they could negotiate that and then bring it down towards around that 45 million mark, which I think that's what Arsenal had. I think Arsenal could have paid 45 million pounds, which is basically around 50 something million euros. But I think Leon played hardball and we didn't get the player. So we felt that, okay, fine. We have the 45 million pounds. Let's pay the release clause for Partey.
Yeah, and what I was actually in the end happy with was how we really, what's the word? We went about the deal very quickly, I think, just yesterday, without involving Atletico, as you said, as you said, we don't have to in the La Liga. We just have to go to the La Liga headquarters and show that this is the release clause. Here's the money that they will need. This is everything, and that's it. That's done. I think if you remember the news reports coming out earlier during the transfer window was that Atletico were unwilling to negotiate about anything, despite wanting one of our players in Torreira, and they were unwilling to change anything about the deal. So I felt really happy with the way things turned out, that it was a no-nonsense approach from Arsenal. And
a big dog move.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, it made me really happy how we handled the situation.
Yeah, I think we Arsenal fans could have taken pleasure in what we did yesterday, but I think we ended up the season. I think our ins were there's Thomas Partey, of course, Thomas Partey, Gabriel, Willian, Alex Runason. I think those are the first team players who we brought
And
in.
Dani Ceballos, you have to remember,
Dani Ceballos, of course, came back from loan. So I think how would you rate that transfer window?
I think all in all,
in terms of ins,
it's been actually a really good transfer window. Obviously not the best. We didn't get the kind of player that Awa is, or maybe we didn't get Awa or a substitute for Awa. But the rest of the transfer dealings, I think they've been really, really good. I think they've addressed needs in our squad. We've already seen how Gabriel has integrated into the team. We know already what Ceballos can do. We've seen what Willian can do. So I think all in all, it's been really good in terms of transfers in.
What about the outs? I think that's where we struggle a little bit in terms of.
Yeah, that's the issue with me. That's the bone of contention, because we, in the end, have a bloated squad, and we are yet to see. I think the deadline for registering your squad players is October the 20th. So I think by then
today.
we'll see. No. It's the 20th.
Are you sure?
October.
I was reading somewhere today that the deadline for registration is today.
At players. The transfer window. The transfer window hasn't actually finished. there's still a domestic one going on up to the 16th. Yeah, so after that, so it's going to be on the 20th when that's going to be the deadline for registration of club players. So I think we have a really bloated squad. The likes of Socrates, I don't think will play anymore. The likes of Mustafi, I don't expect that they will play. Chambers has been injured. We haven't seen him. I don't know if Arteta has him in his plans. Sio Kolasinac, I don't know what's the plan now, given that we know he was trying to be shipped out. There's a lot of players actually. Who else? Ozil, as we know, has been somewhat frozen out of the squad. We don't know if he will make the final 25. So all these players, I think we should have done a better job at moving them on, but it's what happens in the transfer window. You can't really predict. So I don't know. I think we definitely should have done better. So yeah, maybe our outgoings, I'd give it a 4.
I think 4 is okay. I think also the depressed market because of the COVID, the pandemic.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think that also hampers a little bit in terms of what we try to do. People couldn't afford what we were asking, and it became a bit difficult for that. I'm just trying to look at the news because I'm certain I read that somewhere.
No, check Obinyo tweets.
On Twitter. This is premium podcasting. This is supposed to have all our information.
No, I am pretty certain that it's the October the 20th, because there's no way we can register players now, and there's still a domestic transfer window open up to the 16th.
Yes, 20th. I don't know why I'm thinking it's today. Anyway, we have 20th. So we have 2 players over the limit. I think we have 19 and 17. It'd be interesting to see
how many homegrown players do we need?
You can have as many homegrown players as you have. I think the problem is normally with the non-homegrown players. The maximum is 17.
Oh, okay. So that makes
so we have
8 homegrown players needed.
Yeah, but it could be more, and you don't have to register under 21 players as well. So players like Bukayo Saka,
we don't have to register them.
No, because they're under 21. You don't have to register them.
We do need them for the homegrown quota, don't you think?
Yeah, that now if you say it like that, you have to register them. Quota.
Yeah, so I think the players that will end up not registering I think we will end up seeing on the 20th. I think that will be after the Man City game. So maybe we can do a combined podcast then. We'll talk about that.
Yeah, but do you think Ozil will be?
Well, I texted you about this yesterday, last night. I don't know. I like Ozil, as I'm sure you know, and I would kill to see him again. And now that we have Partey and he adds that bit more security in front of our back line, I think we can possibly see Mesut back on the pitch with Arsenal. I don't know. This is just me like hoping against hope that we see him at least once playing balls in through to Aubameyang, playing balls in through to Pepe, to Willian, you know. The legend Arsene Wenger said, if you like football, you like watching Ozil play. So I really want to see him again. I'm hoping Arteta, now that we've gotten Partey, will integrate him back in the team.
I think you raise an interesting point, which brings me to a question that we were asked on social media. I think from Suhail from Corner Kick View, he asked, "How does Partey fit into the system?" I think that's a very good question. How we want to develop as a team. Where do you see Partey playing? And you talked about Ozil coming in. So how do you see Partey being integrated into the team?
Well, right now, counting Ozil out, I don't want to include him just yet because he hasn't been playing. With the current players, the ones who are playing, I think will play with a midfield three, and with that, I think the midfield three will be Ceballos, Xhaka, and Partey. And additionally, I think Ceballos might end up being our deepest lying midfielder. And then Partey and Xhaka will be on the right and left, respectively. That's what I think.
Ceballos as the deeper midfielder?
Yes.
Really?
Yes, that's what I think. If you haven't noticed, I think if you look at our games, he's usually one of the deepest midfielders on the pitch. And he usually ends up moving around. He exchanges
On
with
that, I
Xhaka.
think on that it makes sense because basically we play with a midfield two. I think either of them has to come and collect the ball. But if you have Partey in there, I think he offers that precision from deep because I was reading a thread on him on Twitter today by a Spanish journalist. They were saying that he's not a deep lying player for sure, but he can play in that deep position and then progress from there in terms of dribbling, in terms of passing. So I think as well, I think Ceballos offers you more offensively, as we saw against Liverpool. If you give him the ball in that sort of area just behind the striker, I think he can find the forward players. I would fancy Ceballos to find a through ball more than I would fancy Thomas Partey. I don't think that doesn't mean that Thomas Partey is a bad passer, as I said before. I think he's an excellent passer. It's one of his underrated attributes. But I think it would be more natural to have Ceballos in front of them. And then as well as in terms of pressing from the front, I think Ceballos would be a welcome addition to that on top of the likes of Aubameyang and Willian and Pepe.
Let me just add, I think in an Arteta system, I don't think any one player has one set role.
Yeah.
Do you get me? I think every player that plays under Arteta has a sort of hybrid role. There's a lot of movement. There's a lot of dynamism. I think if we play with a midfield three like the one I'm suggesting right now with Xhaka, Ceballos, and Partey, I think for a majority of the game, I think Ceballos would be the player coming in to collect the ball because he's the most comfortable, I think, collecting the ball under pressure, I think, with Partey as well. And there's that dynamism. Dynamism. I'm confused.
Yeah, that.
Whatever. Yeah, that. There's that. A lot of that between now Partey giving us a different option, Xhaka giving us a different option, and we know that Xhaka is not also a deep lying midfielder, although he can do a job there. But his main position is a central midfielder, and he usually moves up the pitch. So all these players that we have at some point move up the pitch, come back down to defend, and they all do this very, very well, I think. So what I'm suggesting Ceballos will be the deepest lying midfielder is just purely based on the fact that he's, I think, one of the best ones at collecting the ball under pressure and turning away from trouble, maybe to avoid the press. Xhaka as well does that, we've seen, and he plays the ball usually to the left. Maybe Partey will now be offering that to the right, and then the whole team can progress maybe, and they'll be exchanging with Partey maybe for back to let Ceballos go, or Ceballos staying back to let Partey go when Partey fancies a dribble or to drive into the middle of the park. So it's what I think will happen because, as I've said, Arteta, his teams know one player has one defined role.
I think you raise a valid point. I think basically it's interesting where we're headed. I think what we do know that Thomas Partey will bring quality into the team. I think we will improve a lot of players around him. I think it'll be very interesting to see as well how the fullbacks will get, because he's very good in those crossfield balls that Luis likes to play. So if we have somebody else who can do that from maybe 10, 15 yards higher than where Luis is, I think that will also help. So I think it will develop our game in terms of offensively and as well defensively. So it'll be interesting to see how that will turn out.
Let me ask you, do we know why Xhaka was benched against Sheffield? Or was it just a rest?
I don't know. He played on Thursday, didn't he?
He only played 45 minutes. Like, he didn't play the full game. He was
I don't know. I think maybe it was a tactical thing. I'm choosing to say it's tactical because I think because we saw, as we mentioned in the first part of the podcast, and then he played sort of as a hybrid right center back. I think it was more tactical than anything. I think as well it shows that we're trying to move away of over reliance on a player, but rather reliance on a system and patterns of play, which I like. So I think it could be.
No.
I think we'll see him against City, possibly. I'm thinking it's more tactical than anything. Maybe he has a little niggle, I don't know, but I think it was more tactical than anything.
Yeah, if it is what you're saying, moving away from reliance from one player or one type of system, I think we could be also seeing a lot more of Saka, because he's one of our better players at progressing the ball, at playing in those dangerous passes into the final third. What a talent that boy is. And yeah, I think we might stop seeing Xhaka being in the team more often. I really have come to like the player and what he offers for the team, but with Partey now, I don't know. I think we'll have to wait and see what Arteta decides, because he knows best.
Yeah, I think it's very interesting. Of course, baptism of fire, because I think we play City away. So it'd be interesting to see if Partey starts. He's obviously fit.
Will he start? Because he hasn't got much time to train, given the international duty that he has.
How many games do Ghana have?
Is it 2 or 3? I'm not sure.
Let me just confirm that.
I know England have 3. I don't know if many other teams have 3.
They play Mali on Friday, and then Qatar on Monday. So he could be back on Tuesday. Yeah,
wow, then that's actually good. He'll get around a week. Well, 5 days, but that's still something.
We play on Saturday, right?
Yeah, yes, we do play on Saturday.
Yeah, so 5 days, that's not so bad. I don't know. He could start, he could not start. I mean, that's it'll be something to look forward to at least. But I do know he will be in the squad.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we haven't signed one of the world's best midfielders to not even make the squad.
There is
falling asleep, are we?
I've not eaten today. I'm quite hungry. There's a tweet from Charles Watts today talking about it's a link to Santa Titian. The William Saliba has gone back on loan. Have you? I don't know. Have you seen that?
Well, no, not really, given that I'm not on Twitter.
I'm just
But
confirming that.
he's gone back on loan. I thought.
Yeah, here is. He tweeted
What
it 3 hours ago.
Uh-huh.
Saint Etienne confirmed that they had an agreement with Arsenal to take Saliba back on loan for the season, but ran out of time to finalize the transfer. So he stays in London. Oh,
Ooh, he stays. Yeah, that's what
he
I thought.
stays.
Yeah,
Yeah, I saw it like
moved after the transfer window had closed.
that's sort of unfortunate. I think it would have been nice to have him go, sort of have the year of development that Arteta was talking about. Yeah, I hopefully that he can be integrated into the team in some sort of way that he's made to feel at home. I think Gabriel and Pepe are really helping with that, of course, together with Lacazette and Aubameyang. Yeah.
We actually have a very strong contingent of French-speaking players, which I like to see, and also Spanish-speaking players now. Partey has been playing in Spain for a while. I'm sure he knows a bit of Spanish.
All his career actually has been in Spain.
Oh, wow. So definitely then he knows some. He'll be forming a connection with
He
Ceballos
has
and Bellerin.
very good Spanish. I was actually watching an interview he was giving.
Okay.
It's good Spanish,
Okay.
so that will help with Arteta.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, if you look at the kind of players, I think that we've been looking at, it's all done well with a view to integrate them into the squad to get immediate improvement, maybe. And it's something really positive from Arsenal. I'm really enjoying I'm really enjoying myself right now watching Arsenal go through this.
Yeah, certainly look forward to. I think the next couple of weeks will give us a real indication of where we are at in terms of our progression, where we want to be, and where we're headed. So we just waited with a bated breath on how we will, of course, supporting the team all the way. I think that's it basically. I don't think there's anything else we need to discuss. Is there anything you want to mention before we sign off?
Not really. I think we've covered a lot. I don't know. I think I'm just excited now that we've signed Partey. I think he's a big improvement on most of our midfielders right now, and I'm looking forward to what the future offers with Arsenal.
Yeah, hopefully we will progress. I think we will progress. It's how fast we will progress. Yeah, I think that's it for part 2 for this episode. Thank you guys for listening, for tuning in. Thank you for those who send in your questions. We do appreciate your questions. We will try to answer a bit more in the next episode. Ahmed, as well, as always, it's been a pleasure having you here.
Thank you, Omar. It's been wonderful.
Yeah, it's time. It's party time. It's party after party here. I think we'll leave you guys to continue with the partying. I think we will see you next week with the next podcast. Is it, Ahmed?
I think we'll see. Maybe we can do a pre-podcast before Man City. We'll try. We'll discuss
on the back channels. Thank you guys. We will see you next week. See you guys. Kwaheri.